All right, let's get Kayla on here. And we're going to talk about nutrition. Hopefully lots of you are able to join in because it's Veterans Day. Hello.
Hello.
How are you, Kayla?
I'm good. Hold on one second. It has me request to be in this video.
Yeah, you're in it, so.
Oh, should I cancel it? It's like a pop-up. It says send request or
Oh,
cancel. I've never seen that
just
before.
cancel it. It's
All right.
fine. I think you're on.
Hopefully I stay on. Here we go.
I think you're on.
Okay. Okay, we're good.
How's it going?
Pretty good. Can't
Yeah,
complain.
you a little.
Um, yeah, that is one thing I'm like I'm getting there. It's like it's funny though, like I still have been going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time since getting back from California, but I'm just like it's very hard for me to get up in the morning now. And I'm like I'm getting the same amount of sleep, but I'm just like
Yep.
I'm just out of it. So it'll probably take a
West,
little bit.
west to east is always like tough.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Like and I feel like I was just getting used to California time by the end of the trip.
Yep.
And then we had, we had to set the clocks back and everything too. So it was just, I got home and I'm like, oh my God, what is going on?
Awesome. So thanks for joining today. Just to give everyone kind of an overview of what we're doing. So we're going to talk a little bit about some frequently asked questions that we get nutrition wise. At Her Strength, we have we have the whole strength training covered for health, but there's a whole other side to actually seeing results from your strength training. And a huge piece of that, I would argue that it's like 80-20 nutrition and then fitness, especially initially when you're first starting. And so you're getting the strength training piece of it, but a lot of times what can happen is we're not getting the best results that we can get because nutrition is not optimal. And one of the things that we are asked a lot is protein. So we have a lot of members at Her Strength that feel like they aren't necessarily getting enough protein, or they don't necessarily, understand the importance of protein. So, why do we need the protein? Why is that essential when it comes to, strength training and seeing the best results? And, what kind of protein is optimal? And, again, if we're not trying to necessarily build muscle to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger, do we really need that much protein? So there's a lot of there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of information on the internet, especially since it's kind of cool to be like plant-based these days. And so it's much harder to be plant-based to get enough protein. So Kayla, if you could shed a little bit of light on, the whole protein thing, that would be great for our.
Absolutely. So protein is so important and very overlooked, I feel like. And I feel like um, you probably see a lot of your members come in who are like busting their butt week in and week out with their strength training workouts and not necessarily noticing the progress that they want to. And what it really comes down to most of the time is that they aren't getting enough protein. Um, so, and muscle is protein. So, one of the main ways that strength training actually leads to improvement is, and this might sound a little bit weird, but is actually damaging these proteins and creating the need for repair. So, the repair process is what's actually going to make you stronger and more resilient, but only if you're consuming enough protein to be able to repair the damaged protein. Um, and so, so typically the standard recommendation is zero point 0.8 kilograms per 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, this is for like the absolute bare minimum for a sedentary person. But not only that, like more research has come out that this is actually arguably low for this kind of person.
Wow.
So, Obviously someone who's very active and working out and strength training, they're going to need a lot more than this. And it's typically going to be like double, if not more, than this standard recommendation. So just to kind of put things into perspective, take like let's see, like a woman who is around 130 pounds. They're going to be around 60 kilograms in weight.
Mhm.
And so if you do the calculation for that person for that standard amount of protein, that's only about like 48 grams of protein per day. That is like very low. And again, this is the bare minimum for a sedentary person. So like I said before, typically it's going to be around double that for that zero point 0.8 grams per kilogram. But like a good way of like a good recommendation that we usually tell our clients is um, that you for a typical woman it's going to be like around 30 or more grams 3 times per day to total near 100 grams. Now obviously that number is going to differ person to person. Some are going to require more protein, some less, but that's like a good median to go by. Um, and so the 30 or more grams of protein is typically going to be about 4 to 5 ounces of like meat, fish, or poultry. And 4 to 5 ounces is going to be around the size of the palm of your hand. And that, of course, that's going to differ with different types of protein. But it's a good standard to go by if you're very unfamiliar with how much you should be getting.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of times, people ask me about like mostly breakfast. They're like, I feel like I can't get enough protein in breakfast. Like, what do you typically suggest for like a high protein breakfast?
So I get that question so often. It's probably the most common question that
Yeah.
we get among our clients. So here's the thing with breakfast. You definitely want to go more of like the savory route than the sweet route. But you also have to kind of get out of the mindset that breakfast has to be like those breakfast type foods. So obviously, a lot of people are kind of just set in like cereal, bagels, pastries, toast, like all this stuff for breakfast, just because it's like that's what we've been doing for years and years and years. But in reality, breakfast is just another meal of the day. So you can honestly have whatever you want. You can have leftovers from dinner the night before. And I know for a lot of people that sounds crazy, but honestly, like once you get out of that mindset and you kind of are developing these habits, it sticks and you don't really necessarily miss those breakfast foods anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we hear like a lot of people that are like, I don't even eat breakfast. Like I just get up and drink coffee, which is obviously problematic in and of itself. Not great for female hormones, especially to like drink coffee on an empty stomach and then not eat. So,
Right.
um, yeah, not ideal. So here's another question. So with protein, I know we like briefly touched on. So if someone is a vegetarian, like how do you approach that with someone to like really make sure that they're getting enough of that protein?
Yeah, yeah. And I know you had mentioned that some people did come to you with this question about vegetarian.
Yeah.
Um, so protein is not all the same. And animal protein has the 9 essential amino acids that we do need for muscle building. Um, and protein from plant sources isn't necessarily absorbed as well, and is often limited in these particular essential amino acids. So this doesn't necessarily mean that plant sources are bad, but they do present more of a challenge because you have to eat even more protein to compensate for those limitations. And you also have to be mindful of combining different types of plant proteins to actually get the right balance of those essential amino acids that I just talked about. So it can be a little bit more tricky as a vegetarian. It's not impossible, but the thing is the plant sources of protein that tend to be higher in protein also tend to be higher in carbohydrate.
Hmm.
So it is something to be aware of, especially as, the day is adding up. So, that's one thing to think about. And also, one other thing is that a lot of these higher protein plant-based foods, um, typically a lot of people have some dietary concerns related to some of these,
Hmm.
and have like adverse food reactions. So, I mean, that's a topic for another day. But again, just something to kind of keep in mind. But again, it's not impossible. And especially if a vegetarian is open to eating things like eggs and fish,
Right.
which should definitely be prioritized if that is the case.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like I posted the other day something about bone broth. Like drinking bone broth is like one of those things that like it's like almost like a cheat with protein. Like it's just liquid. It's literally just and they make like drinking bone broth that you can kind of sip on.
Mhm.
Um and it's obviously not meat, but like it just depends if someone's like that, are and they're plant-based or if they're like vegan. So like kind of like you gotta navigate work back.
Right, right. And but like what's nice about our program is that like we're able to calculate a personalized protein target for you based on a number of different personal characteristics. So like in your food diary each day, you'll actually see exactly where you're at in relation to your target. So whether you're vegan, vegetarian, whatever you are, like, you're going to be able to see exactly where you're at for the day compared to where you should be for the day. And again, you'll be able to see, obviously like where your carbohydrates are at, fats, and all of that as well. But, I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things when our clients start to log their food who think they're getting enough protein. When they start logging their food and they're seeing, by the end of the day, like where they're at compared to where they should be, they're like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I am way off. And it's hard. I will admit, like it can be hard to get enough protein in during the day. And I think a lot of women undereat. So that's an issue too. So again, just kind of going back to that general, like 30 grams of protein 3 times per day. So whether that's breakfast, lunch, dinner, whether that's breakfast, a high protein snack, dinner, whatever you can get in there. And there is such thing as having too much protein as well. Our bodies can't absorb after a certain amount, but again, topic for a different day. Um, but yeah, so I'd say it's very eye-opening when people start logging their food, actually seeing how much protein they're consuming compared to where they should be, for sure.
Yeah. It's interesting too because I think I've talked to people about this before, like when you're not getting enough protein, it can add to soreness like post workouts. So like if you're not fueling, like you said earlier, if you're breaking down that the muscle and you're not able to rebuild it because your body doesn't have that source of protein, it can really add to soreness, which is very interesting. I don't think I really thought about it like that until like a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, I'm not really like sore for my workouts, but I'm working really hard. Then I was like, oh, I'm actually eating a lot of protein, so it's my body is able to repair quicker.
Exactly. That's so true. So true. And a lot of people don't think about that either.
Yeah. So there's like there's a lot of reasons, and I think also that kind of protein balancing the blood sugar, um, when you more in your diet.
Absolutely. And kind of going off of that too is like, protein is going to be obviously very important with managing appetite alone, but also for managing cravings. And I know that that's something that we're going to be talking about in a video later this week. So we'll save that. But
Well, it's all interrelated. So, but yeah, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of light on protein. And yeah, we'll be streaming again on Wednesday at same time, and we'll be talking about minimizing cravings and to help you look and feel your best. So tune into that.
awesome. Yes. And if anyone has any other questions, feel free to DM me, DM Nora. We also have a page that you can log into to have a free call with me if you do want to chat a little bit more about your specific goals. So that is just fitfilled.com/her-strength. And again, you can DM us for that link and we're happy to send it to you too. One thing I did want to mention that just popped in my head as well is that for vegetarians specifically and vegans, is that we do actually have a whole separate module for those particular people in our app. So you're going to learn a lot about vegetarian and vegan, and we also are able to give them specific recommendations that are going to be best for them too.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really helpful because we have quite a few members that are, in that boat. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, all right, Kayla, thank you so much. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yes, sounds good. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.